All right, Henry, we're going to introduce a new segment, probably from here on out, a little thing I'm going to call Subspace Communications.
Oh, boy.
One of the best things about being on YouTube is the fact that everybody can chime in. Like it, dislike it, whatever. So, in no particular order, for no particular reason, I just grabbed a handful and we're just going to read them and then kind of discuss them for a few minutes.
Sounds good. Let's see what the people got for us.
Yep. So the first one is from the segment called Changes in the Time Stream, which is Season 2, Episode 3 of Strange New Worlds. And then it's our Episode 40, Segment 11. So if you take the entire Episode 40 of ours and look at Segment 11, that's this. Mark Taylor 3727 says, my thinking on this is that, let me make sure I follow this correctly now. My thinking on this is that it is not just the Romulans that do the time travel. So this is talking about the Romulans interfering with the past. And now you have big time discrepancies in OST. And I'm guessing that stands for Original Star Trek. World War III happens in 1996.
You know what? Not to cut you off, but that might be original series timeline, maybe.
Okay, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, that was the World War III thing that cleared.
Yeah. World War III happened in 1996. Well, that has not happened yet, but the way I see how to get around this is time travel now. This is a little harder to read than it was when I read it quietly to myself. Yes, they can go back in time just to observe, so no time interference. It's not going back in time and interacting in that time when the problems arrive, because, so basically what I think he's trying to say, sorry, when I read this internally, it was a lot easier to follow. Now that I'm trying to do it out loud, my unnecessary pauses are making it harder to read than it actually is. But the way I took it was that everybody's meddling with the past.
Right.
And there's this thing in like Doctor Who where they talk about time discrepancies. They're like, we're dealing with the show about time travel. There is no such thing as a discrepancy. Right. Because once there's time travel involved,
everything's on the table.
Off screen, somebody else went back and fixed it. And after reading Mark's comment, I was even thinking that everything actually happens. This kind of gets meta. So when you watch Star Trek, the original series, World War III was in the 90s. Because by then something else had happened in time that had put it in that time period.
Right.
And then by the time you get around to Enterprise, Strange New Worlds, and they move it to make it work with that time period, well, when you watch those series, that is when it happened.
Right.
Was the later time periods. So the history is always going to shift some. And because there's time travel, and now especially with this establishing Romulans intentionally trying to take Earth out by messing with its history.
Right.
Now we can just say, hey, things happen when they happen. The dates aren't that important because there's time travel all over the place. And you add in things like the temporal Cold War. Mm-hmm. And yeah, time is always monkeyed with. So yeah, them saying it happened in 1996 in one show and 2026 in another, there's still no discrepancy.
Right.
Because there's been time travel in the meantime that moved those dates around.
Monkeying it about, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder what Klingon time travelers would be.
Well, they got time crystals, man.
That'd be wild.
They just grab
Klingons out of Woodstock in 1969, man.
Nobody'd even know because they'd still just be stinky long hairs.
Get us that movie.
Yeah.
Is that the Worf movie coming out?
Maybe.
That'd be good.
They're going to do a lot of LDS in the 60s at Berkeley.
There you go.
Yeah. From the same episode, Mac McLeod 1188, speaking of Highlander, I have no interest in any Star Trek series based on the Kelvin timeline. A friend told me some of the new series are not based on the Kelvin timeline, and I found I really am not interested in Star Trek anymore at all because of the Kelvin timeline stories. The last Star Trek story I was truly interested in was Axanar. CBS was a fool to squash that project instead of picking it up. I think just about every TOS Star Trek fan would have watched it religiously, and it would have been picked up, and an audience would have been picked up. An audience along modern viewers as well. Okay, so saying that original viewers and modern viewers would have watched it. Well,
breathe and release, Cap. Breathe and release.
Yeah. It's lack of punctuation. And I realize when I write comments, I don't capitalize. I don't use punctuation. I also don't try to go back and read it out loud.
I am one of the, somebody made a video actually that my channel's in and a bunch of others. I am one of the apparently 168 at the time channels on YouTube with the name Dutch Vanderland and a Red Dead Redemption 2 picture as my profile.
Oh, I would assume so.
So I always have a little template set up. Arthur, I have a plan, and would just type my comment in there and throw it up. So mine's already pre-done for me because half my comment's already done for me.
Sure.
But if I just had my own personal account, which I'm not going to give out, just going around typing on comments or whatever, then yeah, no capitals, no commas, no nothing.
Yeah.
I just want to say my piece.
Yeah, well, you're quickly tapping your thumbs on a device the size of 2 business cards and,
Right.
But yeah, the thing we don't think of is that somebody may try to read this out loud. It's going to be a mess,
Yeah, not to rip on you or anything, Mac. We're just talking shop here for internet.
Yep. So I had a podcast way back when the Axonar stuff was going on. I interviewed some of the people about the way behind scenes, and there are things about Alec Peters that I know that would have kept me from watching Axonar. There was the constantly moving goalposts, the fundraising that's never quite enough while him and his friends are eating $1,000 sushi dinners. I interviewed his girlfriend at the time who was going to do the same thing with the Supergirl movie they were doing with Axonar, and they had already started their second fundraiser. There's a whole set of things in here. Parts of Axonar look cool. Alec Peters playing Garth Vizar when Alec Peters couldn't act and didn't know how to fold the Starfleet tunic and it really looked mechanical was bad. I'm not going to get into the whole thing. There are things, I think a lot of my friends would have loved to have seen Axonar come out.
I know personally when I watched the little 30-minute prelude that they had,
Axonar.
I thought that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good.
But it's stuff like selling coffee with pictures of Klingon birds of prey and using Star Trek trademarks when you have no right to them.
Yeah.
There are things there. I don't think either one of us ever said that we wanted to see a Kelvin Timeline series.
No.
But I think I said something about now that both are in-house at Paramount instead of one at CBS and one at Paramount.
Right.
That it would be interesting to see something cross over.
I think a lot of people, especially when Discovery first came out, when the trailers first came out, they kind of assumed that...
Oh, for a couple years after Discovery started, they tried to insist that it was part of the Kelvin timeline, and they do things like, they said licensing, not realizing that licensing goes in 2 directions.
Yeah. But yeah, no, and to my knowledge, other than a little throwaway segment that they had in one of the later seasons of Discovery, I don't think any of the new Star Trek we've had has any connection to the Kelvin timeline.
No, it just, just similar special effects because that's the era we live in.
Right.
All right, so the next we are going to deal with references a segment called An Unloved Show called Enterprise, which is based off Strange New World Season 2, Episode 3. It's our Episode 40, Segment 8. And this is from Jay, so that's at JAYTM2574. Loved Enterprise. It had heart, and then parentheses, and quotes, faith of heart, literally, in parentheses, and was beaten to death by the UPN network. I will give you that 100%.
Yeah.
Because the original plan for the show was the first year of the show was going to be them building the Enterprise. It wasn't going to be about them on the ship.
Right.
There were a lot of concepts that UPN insisted to be in there. The temporal Cold War, they wanted an overarching story from the beginning. The other thing that I know, and I don't know if anybody from UPN would back this up, they wanted a hot chick in a cat suit right off the bat.
Yep.
Because the producers of the show went, I know what you masturbating perverts who like sci-fi want to see. We proved it with 7 of 9, and we're just going to stick it in right from the beginning.
Yep.
7 of 9 and T'Pol are 2 characters that I felt like Star Trek was talking down to me when they were introduced.
They felt like the same character at points, too.
And, they were fine in ways. Yeah. Both actresses, great, good to great in their roles. I don't want to take anything away from them because they did their jobs. Both very lovely women. I mean, you can see where the casting came from, and that's what made it feel like it was talking down to me.
Yeah. Because I'm a Voyager fan. We've talked about that one before, so I'm willing to kind of at least in terms of Voyager, see past we need a blonde bombshell to raise these mid-run ratings.
These middling ratings that we have.
Yeah. And definitely not the best Voyager seasons 1 through 4, although I have a lot of personal favorites in all 4 seasons. But when it comes to 7 of 9, specifically, I thought for the plot that they ran for the show, I thought it was very good. But what really struck me about Enterprise is when they started bringing in these random decontamination room scenes where they'd be all half naked inside of a UV light room, rubbing each other down with lotion and everything. And I'm just like, God.
Well, just like I said, to me, that felt like they were talking down to me.
Well, that's where I started getting that same feeling is what I'm getting at.
And you can't tell me that wasn't a producer going...
Yeah, that was a Harvey Weinstein Jr. back there.
From the same episode... At Marcus Clinton 310 says, Enterprise is awesome. Some people are just too critical for their own good. Is he talking about us?
Maybe talking about me because I kind of have a habit of bringing up Enterprise just to kind of smack down on it. Full disclosure, though, I do it in jest. Like I've said before, it took me a while to get through Enterprise and to not be genuinely critical about it.
I've still never watched it all the way through. I've seen episodes. I've seen like what people would call like the top 15 or 20.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not like these days, especially this far out. If I came across an episode on TV and there wasn't something else going on, I'd probably watch it and be fine with it. It was one of... So, I've told you this before. I've said it to other friends of mine. I love the original Star Trek. I love The Next Generation. I like Lower Decks. So far, besides this episode, I love Strange New Worlds. I'm not the biggest fan of Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, Discovery. You know, so I like about half of television Star Trek.
Right.
I still think I'm a fan. If you tell me you liked one episode of the animated series in 1973, I still think you're a fan.
Right.
Not everything appeals to everybody.
That's true.
Enterprise didn't appeal to me. And again... I felt like it was talking to me like I was a masturbating pervert and an idiot.
Right.
That's what I felt a lot of it was saying. Also, post 9/11, everything on TV was a 9/11 allegory. Star Trek Enterprise did it.
Yep.
And I didn't want to see more of that at the time. I already didn't warm up to some of it because I felt like it was more of a prequel to Next Gen than it was to original Trek. It just didn't work for me. Now, all these years later, it'd probably be just fine. It probably wouldn't trigger me that way because I don't get as intensely bothered by fandom the way I used to.
Right.
But that's for me. But also, I do want to say, what was your name again here? Marcus Clinton 310? Saying some people are just too critical for their own good is an awfully critical thing to say.
He's got you there, pal.
Mm-hmm. The next one from Kevin Vernon 3600. The Romulan starship and the Balance of Terror was a warbird, not a bird of prey.
You're wrong.
Wrong. Oh, you are so very, 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 very wrong.
Like the sky is green and the grass is blue wrong.
Yeah, you couldn't be wronger if you tried.
You, sir, have won the official Strange New Trek Wrongest Person of the Week award. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Kevin Vernon, 3600, the wrongest person of the week. And finally, from Mikey Mike 1.618, Enterprise was much better than Next Generation or any of the other spinoffs.
The neck here?
Yeah, let me kind of warm up for this one here.
Yeah.
You can say you like Enterprise better than The Next Generation. You cannot say it was a better show, because first off, Enterprise was canceled. Next Generation ran 7 seasons and got 4 movies. It had a much broader mainstream appeal.
Not to mention a modern spin-off which raked in millions of views.
And during its height, I believe Star Trek The Next Generation got more than 10 million viewers an episode. And I don't think Enterprise even cracked a fraction of that number. I'd have to go back and look, but something tells me it wouldn't have been canceled if it did.
Yeah. When they're canceling your show to make room for more episodes of The Sentinel.
Yeah.
You're wrong, bud.
What was The Sentinel?
Exactly.
Okay. You know what, Kevin Vernon, 3600. I'm taking back. I'm taking back your award. You are not the wrongest person of the week. Mikey Mike 1.618. You are the wrongest person of the week.
You, sir, have won the award. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Mikey Mike 1.618. Hey, but you know what? Now that all that smart assery is out of the way, I do want to thank everybody for taking the time to write in. There were a lot of comments that I would have liked to have put in here. One guy actually was responding to the Terminator thing, and I would have loved to have handled that, but we would have been here for 45 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
We may do an episode where we discuss time travel.
Or maybe we already did it.
Or maybe when we premiere the episode that we have already recorded possibly of Star Trek's time travel, we will add that comment in and then discuss it a little bit, because it gets into double bootstrap paradoxes and some really just brain-shattering things. And time travel is one of those things I can fall down a well, because it's the grandparent thing, the grandfather paradox.
Right.
You go back in time and shoot our grandfather. Now, neither one of us exist, but you're not there to go back in time and shoot our grandfather.
So therefore, we're back.
Oh,
I have a headache.
Yep. You don't even have to go further than that. And I'm already just like...
And we gave the commander a headache,
yeah,
too.
The commander's already complaining about time travel. She hates time travel stories. But yeah, I want to thank everybody. I realize we might have poked a little fun at some people there, and the ones I'd really want to tear into, I didn't even mention. But other people who I did mention, it's because some of your stuff got deep, and I'd want to spend more time on it. So please, if you're on YouTube and you're commenting, please keep it up. We will try to respond to what we feel probably merits a response. Odds are I won't respond in text to the message itself. It'll probably be in the show.
Yeah, and even if you got something good to say, something bad to say, something middle to say, we will
say it.
Take
please.
a look at it.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, we love hearing from you guys. We love interacting with you guys, and you guys in the end make our show what it is. So please, by all means, keep sending everything in.
Yeah.